I think we've seen recently markets start to wake up to that fact. If you look at how the euro is trading around, news on Brexit these days, and I don't think there's any kind of complacency amongst the policymakers. For a long time, we've seen the fear over the unknown unknowns, right? So what are the kind of collateral damage away from like the first order effects, and could that produce some kind of shock, some kind of issue with financial stability in certain parts of the financial system, especially at a time when Europe's economy is weakened like the rest of the world, when inflation expectations are low, when the central bank is already struggling to assert itself and to restore growth momentum. It's the last thing that they need, which is part of the narrative behind this idea that the EU won't be the ones to create a hard Brexit. They won't kick out a member that wants an extension, even if their frustration with the British is sky high. So I think that the market is starting to wake up to that. But the effect is asymmetric, and I have to say, no one quite knows even what no deal looks like. Do people fully enforce the product and standards and checks on day one, or is there some kind of loose implementation, at least initially, to avoid the disruption?
But they won't enforce it on day one because they want to protect their own companies. Charlotte, you hearing the same?
Yeah, that's right. And also, as you said, on the overall economy, the impact might not be as big, but certain sectors, though, might be really hard. There might be a really hard impact. And in France, for example, the agricultural sector, France is really worried about the impact. The UK is the third largest market for the French exports on the agricultural. Brits like the French wine and things like that. So there's certain sectors where they're really worried of the overall impact.
Much is made of the impact of additional tariffs, but the reality is that particularly fresh produce is subsidised heavily in the EU. If Britain looks to other markets outside of Europe for these products, could there actually be a little bit more deflation in pricing in the UK around food and manufactured product, because those subsidies that support through the common agricultural policy will in effect be taken out of the story? I mean, you've got people like, the trouble with this story is there are so many vested interests who are unwilling to argue a neutral point of view, but you have got economists on the other side of the ledger like Roger Bootle who argue very vociferously that there will be significant improvements in some areas of the UK economy if we actually leave without a deal.
Certainly you would see some kind of redirection of trade flows, and depending on exactly which sub-industry you're talking about, some alternatives absolutely exist. Things like fresh food, though, of course, with the transportation distances, if you're not going to get to Europe, where's it going to come from? I think personally much more exciting.
Israel,
I think what would be much more exciting would be, that's one area, is what we're seeing in the future of agriculture. The future of agriculture is not shipping live, fresh food all over the world. It's vertical agriculture grown right next to the cities of your population. And we've actually done some financing deals recently, raising money through our private client network to fund a couple of these companies that are fast growing. I don't think I can mention the names, but there are several players both in the UK and the US now that really do seem to have nailed this thing, right? Where they can grow these in these vast buildings very close to population centres, can grow food without pesticides, can grow food faster, healthier, even taste better, and at a very competitive price without almost any transportation distance or time, because you're right next to where the people are going to eat it. That's the future of agriculture. It also is a way to decarbonise agriculture, which is probably the more pressing thing than worrying about where we're going to get our lettuce after a no-deal Brexit. So when I look at where agriculture is, I think it's a very, very exciting time. And if you want to be super bullish about what happens in a no-deal Brexit, that's the change. You'll start to see a lot more of our fresh food grown here. Obviously, we import 50% of our food. That's the famous statistic. That, by the way, is incredibly seasonal. Right? Some points in the year we import very little. Some point it's almost everything. So again, if you have vertical agriculture close to population centres, not just here but around the world, it's not really a Brexit issue. That's the exciting evolution I'd like to see if we do snap our trade lines.
Hi, I'm Joanna Bersecci, and thank you for watching. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more from CNBC International. Thank you for watching.